Hi, Anna here from Inner Essence. Today we're going to take you through a class that's going to help you build strength in your pelvic floor. So it's a pretty gentle class. It's going to be safe for pre and postnatal people. So if you're in your second and third trimester and if you've just had your baby, as long as you've been cleared to exercise, most of these movements are pretty safe. I'm going to give you sort of options and modifications as we go through as well. But most are just geared to really work on those deep stabilising core muscles that help us stand up taller and create a lot more strength, real deep internal strength. So we're going to just start with a seated breathing exercise, so you can sort of start to feel your pelvic floor, because a lot of the movements of the pelvic floor are a lot more gentle than what you think they should be. So we don't want to clench and really tighten firmly. We just want to really find that find the spot where you're sort of drawing it up gently but also releasing it. So you don't want to sort of be clenching it really tight the whole time, because that's not helpful. So for your seated position, if you've gone through and watched our modification video and you have a bit of tension in your hips or your pelvis tends to roll back in a seated position, you're going to grab a cushion or a pad or a towel to sit your bottom onto. You can always sit on a chair as well, and if your knees hurt in this position, you just have them in a position that feels comfortable for you. I just want you to try and have your pelvis in that vertical position so that your hip bones are on top of your sit bones, your hip bones are then in line with your pubic bone at the front. So just sitting comfortably and gently, relaxing through the shoulders. As you inhale through the nose, I want you to imagine your pelvic floor drawing up towards your belly button, just nice and gently, and then exhale, release. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, releasing. So you're imagining, keep breathing, that you're got an elevator from your pubic bone all the way up to your belly button, and that's 10 floors. So as you breathe in and draw up gently, you're only going to about the 3rd floor. We're not squeezing all the way up, because if you squeeze too hard, you're going to feel your bottom clenching, and we want to keep the bottom and the glutes relaxed. We just want to draw up through that internal pelvic floor. It's like a tissue in your pelvis, like a horizontal plane, and we're drawing up from all 4 corners of the hips up through the center gently. Exhale, release. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, release. You can't see anything happening. It's all an internal, gentle movement. So this is the engagement that we want to feel when we go into exercises. Very important. Inhale. Exhale, release. Good. So in this seated position, we're just going to do a really gentle spinal flexion. So as we flex forward, I want you to draw up through that pelvic floor that like we just practiced. So that's going to be on the exhale. And then on the inhale, as we come back to our tall seated position, you're going to release the pelvic floor. So if you can bring your hands behind your head gently. Don't pull on your head, just have them nice and gentle. Your movement's coming from this thoracic region around the rib cage. So inhale through the nose. Exhale, draw the pelvic floor up gently, scoop the belly, and just bring the elbows slightly down towards the knees and push the back away gently without your hips moving. Inhale, lengthening up through the spine and releasing through that pelvic floor. Exhale, scoop, drawing up gently, pressing back gently. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, scoop that pelvic floor to the 3rd floor. Scoop the belly towards the spine, gently pressing the back away. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed. One more. Exhale, draw up. Press back, gentle little curve. Inhale, lifting up tall, and bring those arms down. So we'll come to a lying supine position, laying down on your back. So again, from the modification video, you would see that if you're laying on your back and your head doesn't feel like it's in the right position, it needs a little bit of help getting to neutral, you might need a pad or a towel. Pad, towel, cushion from the couch, something a little bit firmer. Andrea doesn't need anything. I need a little something when I'm laying on my back so I can get my chin and my forehead on the same horizontal plane. We're just going to practice our little breathing exercise here on the mat as well. So make sure your feet are bent, flat on the mat, in line with your hips. So hips, knees and toes, then in one long line. You've got a right angle in that knee joint. So relaxing down. I want you to just relax through the hips. Try and find your neutral position, which is your hip bones in line with your pubic bone. So we're not tilted back where the pubic bone is higher, and we're not arching through the back where the pubic bone is lower than the hip. So find that neutral. Having your hands just resting on your rib cage with your fingertips together. So we're going to work through the rib cage as well as the pelvic floor. So as you inhale through the nose, expand the rib cage out to the sides of the body, filling up into the back and sides. Then as you exhale through the mouth, I want you to draw your pelvic floor up to that third floor and then draw the rib cage down towards your hips. Good. Inhale, expand the rib cage. Release your pelvic floor without your hips moving. It's all internal. Exhale, ribs draw back together and connect down towards those hips. As you're breathing here, nothing through the hips and the pelvis is moving. It's all internal. Inhale, expanding. Drawing up gently. Exhale, drawing down, connecting the obliques like big rubber bands, connecting the hips and the ribs. Inhale, expand. Exhale, drawing up gently, connecting down. One more. Inhale, drawing up gently, expanding into the back and sides. And exhale, connecting down. Really good. So, just going to go into practicing our gentle imprint to release. So our neutral position here is where we're going to start on an inhale. As you exhale, you're going to press your lower back slightly down into the mat like you're hugging some marshmallows. The pubic bone is going to draw up gently towards your belly button, and you're drawing up through the pelvic floor here and shortening that gap between your ribs and your hips. And then inhale, just bring that pelvis back to neutral. Release the pelvic floor. Exhale. It's like imagine you've got two big dials on the sides of your hips. You're dialing it back probably 2 or 3 notches and then bringing it back to neutral. Exhale. Turn those dials. Squeezing up gently, connecting, drawing the ribs down, and then inhale, releasing. So the release of the pelvic floor is important. We've got to strengthen that muscle so that it's got movement in both directions. It's not always pulling up. And inhale. Good, let's do one more. Nice gentle imprint. Gently drawing up through that pelvic floor, connecting the ribs down. Inhale, releasing back to neutral. Really good. So that's a really good little exercise to just do at home if you're feeling like your pelvic floor is a bit weak. Doing this a couple of times a day just to get that feeling and know what engaging it gently is feeling like. And it's also a really nice little release for the lower back. So great exercise to do every day at home. So we're going to go into some leg slides. I want you to have your hands on your hip bones so that you can feel them. And then we're going to do some leg slides. So the right leg first. Take an inhale to prepare. As you exhale, we're going to slide that right leg along the mat till it's long and the toes are pointing up to the ceiling and the leg is long. It's energized and your hips aren't moving. And then inhale, slide that leg back to where it was. Inhale, and then exhale, slide the left leg away. Inhale, draw that leg back. So we're just going to alternate either side. The goal is to connect through the pelvic floor, the lower abdominals, and the obliques as we extend the leg away so that we can keep our pelvis stable. Good. So if you're finding that your leg slides away and you can't keep your lower back on the mat, lower back in neutral, it pushes up into a arched position, you just need to just only go about halfway through your leg slide. Just start at the beginning for your body is capable of at the moment, and then you just build up. So I'm going to build up slowly during this class, but you always just come back to a level of movement that works for you at the moment. Beautiful. Let's do one more. And then slide that leg back. Really good. So I'm just going to open through the hips here as well. So the feet stay flat. And again, the goal is to keep that pelvis really stable. So we're finding that neutral, holding onto it. The right leg is just going to open out to the side. So keep your hands on your hip bones. Only go as far as you can keep this opposite hip in the same position. If you start to move through that pelvis, you've gone too far. So exhale, open, connect. Inhale, draw it back, release. So we're keeping that outside edge of that foot connected to the mat. We're just opening up the sole of the foot as we let that knee release open. So what you're feeling through this lower abdominal area, your pelvic floor is lifting up gently. Your transverse abdominis is connecting as you connect through that pelvic floor. And that's holding everything nice and stable using those nice deep internal stabilising muscles, the core of everything that we need to build on for a really strong and balanced body. Let's do one more each side. Exhale, open. Make sure this opposite hip and the opposite leg stays nice and still. The opposite knee might want to fold away. We'll keep that nice and still. Inhale, release. Really good. So we're going to combine those two movements, the long leg slide that we just did before in parallel, plus that knee opener to the side, keeping the hands on those hip bones, keeping that pelvis nice and neutral. Inhale, let the knee fall out to the side without moving through that pelvis, and then slide the leg away. Keep the heel in line with the hip. When you get to the end, I want you to internally rotate that leg from the hip so the leg stays long, and then slide it back. So the knee's going to brush against the opposite knee that hasn't moved, and then just put that leg back. So let's stay on the same leg here. Open to the side, inhale. Exhale, slide the leg away. Internally rotate the whole leg from the hip, and then slide the leg back to its starting position. Let's do one more this way. Inhale, open. Exhale, slide away. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, slide back. So if you're going a little bit quicker, you would make 2 breaths instead of 4. So we're going to go the opposite way. So we're going to let the knee fall in towards the opposite knee without that shifting. So don't let your hips fall to the side. Sliding away. Externally rotating the whole leg, so the toes point away, and then sliding back again to the start position. Got 2 more. Inhale, knee falls in, slide away. Exhale, rotate, slide back. The whole time you're doing this, we want to keep our hips extremely still by using these internal muscles. Pelvic floor is drawing up. The hip bones are drawing towards one another, which is the TA, like a belt around your waist. Good. Andrea can finish that one she's doing. And we're going to go to the other leg. So inhale, let the knee fall out to the side. Keep that hip stable on the opposite side. Slide that heel away. Keep it in line with the hip. Internally rotate the whole leg. Slide back in so that knee brushes, and my knee started to fall away there. So you want to keep that in position. Have your hand there if you need help in that position. Slide away. Exhale, internally rotate, sliding back. Trying to get that foot in the same position. When you return, don't let it creep up towards your bottom. Slide away, internally rotate, and back again. So we'll go the opposite way. So we're going to internally rotate. The knee comes towards the opposite knee, slide that heel away. Externally rotate the whole leg in that hip joint, and then sliding back. So you can feel those muscles working really hard to stabilize you. Even though it looks like a simple movement, it's actually really strong, deep core work. One more. Inhale, inhale, internally rotate, slide away. Exhale, externally rotate, and slide back. Really great. All right, so I'm going to go into some hip rolls. So I want you to, if you do have a pad or a towel under your head, take that away, because we don't want anything under our head once we lift our hips up over our heart. So our feet are in the same position. Just bring your hands onto the mat, gently resting. So starting in that neutral again. Before we actually lift our hips up, I want us just to really focus on the engagement of the back of the legs. So inhale, and then as you exhale, pelvic floor draws up. Press your feet into the mat and try and squeeze those heels back towards your bottom. So we're almost shortening the space between the heels and the bottom by engaging through the back of the legs and drawing up through the pelvic floor. We're not engaging the glutes yet. Inhale, release. So you can almost see that little shift in our legs as we squeeze, exhale, inhale, release. So my head is always coming down slightly on the mat. And release. If you feel bottom squeezing, I want you to just really focus on pelvic floor, abdominals, and hamstrings at the back of your legs. You might feel your calves as well. Inhale, release. Exhale, squeeze. Keep that pelvis in neutral. Don't let it tilt yet. And release. So on the next one, we're going to go into our little hip roll and lift the hips. Only about halfway, just a little baby one. We're not going to imprint and roll up until we've done that little engagement that we just practiced. So inhale, prepare. Exhale, squeeze, engage hamstrings, pelvic floor, abdominals. Then I want you to turn your dials, imprint gently, and then just take the weight into the shoulders and the feet and slowly just roll up gently off the mat, just coming to the bottom of the rib cage. And I want you to hold that squeeze in the back of your legs. You might feel those hamstrings. Inhale at the top there, expand the rib cage, and then exhale, roll down with that imprinted pelvis back onto the mat gently into your neutral position. So inhale, exhale, engage through the back of the legs, abdominals, then imprint and squeeze, articulate up halfway only. Keep pushing the knees forwards, keep squeezing the heels back towards your bottom, inhale. And then exhale, rolling down nice and slowly and gently articulating back into neutral. Make sure your knees aren't splaying out to the side, they're staying nice and level and parallel. One more, inhale, exhale, engage first, then imprint. Scoop, squeeze and roll, push the knees forwards. Don't let your body dump back into your neck. Keep squeezing the back of the legs. We want to work those hamstrings. And then exhale, rolling all the way back through into neutral. Just give your knees a little bit of a hug there. So that was a little baby half one. We're going to progress to a full hip roll after we've done a few other movements. Good. So I'm going to grab something for our inner thighs here. So it can be a ball. If you don't have a ball, like an exercise ball, your kids might have a ball that they play with, a soccer ball or something squeezy out the back. If not, you just use a cushion, a towel, a pad, anything that you can sort of hold between your legs. I want you to try and keep your legs in that parallel position. So if your ball is too wide, your knees are going to be past your hips. So I want them to try and be nice and parallel. And then pop your pad back under your head if you have one. Good. So feet nice and flat on the mat. Your knees are bent at 90 degrees, so not too close to your bottom. And we're going to find our neutral position. Hip bones, pubic bone in line. So then when we're going to take a nice big inhale to prepare, as we exhale, we're going to squeeze the ball between the legs, draw the pelvic floor up, connect the abdominals and obliques. Inhale, release. So it's a very small movement. Inhale, exhale, squeeze the ball. Feel the inner thighs, pelvic floor, obliques, draw down. Inhale, exhale. So the movement through the abdominals is the same as our breathing exercise. We're just adding this little ball squeeze to engage more through the inner thighs. Deepen that connection. If you are feeling your bottom squeezing, you're squeezing too fast. So we don't want to clench and tighten. We want to just isolate the adductors, the inner thigh muscles, the pelvic floor, and the abdominals to create really nice stability and strength there. Really good. So So keep going like that with a couple more. I'm going to make it a little bit more tricky in a second. Let's do one more there. Exhale, squeeze, engage, draw up, and gently release. So when we do the next one, we're going to add in our pelvic tilt as we squeeze, but you're still not going to engage your glutes and your bottom. I'm going to try and keep them switched off. So nice big inhale, expand the rib cage. Exhale, squeeze your ball, pelvic floor lifts, abdominals connect, and you're doing a little pelvic tilt. Try not to squeeze your bottom. Try and just tilt that pelvis and squeeze the knees. Inhale, release the ball, come back to neutral. Good. Exhale, squeeze the ball. Little pelvic tilt, squash your marshmallows gently, and inhale, release. The marshmallows are just under your lower back where your natural curve is, where there's a little natural curve. Inhale, release. So we want to make sure that pelvic floor is releasing each time, so that it's actually getting contractions. It will be way too fatigued if we tried to hold it on the whole time, as would any muscle. Good. And releasing back to neutral, release that ball gently. One more. Exhale, squeeze your ball. Pelvic floor, little tilt back, obliques, connecting the ribs down to the hips. Inhale and release. Really nice. So just pop your ball to the side. We're going to come up to a seated position, so you can either hold behind one of your knees and roll up gently. If you've had a baby recently, really important to do your safe rising. So come to the side, push yourself up gently. And we're going to come into a seated position with long legs. So you definitely might need, if you needed a pad before with your legs crossed, you will definitely need a pad here. Andrea might sit sideways. She doesn't need any props. I'm going to put myself up on this one. So your prop that you're sitting on can be as high as you want it to be. You could be sitting up this high on a step stool. If that gets your hips and pelvis into the right position, that's where you need to be. So our legs are going to be long. And if this position is uncomfortable for your hips, you might have really tight hamstrings or tight hips. And if you still feel like your pelvis can't sort of get up into that vertical position, just bend your knees slightly and you'll find a bit of extra lift. You could cross your legs, but I'd prefer us to have as long a leg as possible. So maybe just getting a thicker towel if you need and having bent knees. So I'm going to do some spinal twists. We're going to do them with bent arms. So we're not doing the full movement with long arms. Just going to bring our elbows up just below the shoulder line so that we're not coming up higher. And just relaxing through the shoulders. Draw the elbows away from you and create space through the chest and the back. And lift up through the spine. Make sure your rib cage is drawing down and not opening and arching your back. So inhale. As you exhale, we're going to rotate to the side and keep the hips still and just rotate through that thoracic spine and breathe 3 times. Exhale. Spiral back upwards, taller through the middle. Exhale to the other side. Spiral upwards. So Andrea's going to keep going. As you spiral to the side, the pelvic floor is drawing up to that 3rd floor and the abdominals are connecting down. Good. And then you draw up through the middle, release the pelvic floor, release the abdominals, but don't let the rib cage rise. Good. Let's do one more each way. So to make this more challenging, you can have the arms long, reaching the fingertips away, as long as your arms stay in line with that body and don't sort of flail around and do their own thing. Otherwise, bring them back in. Andrea can finish her last one there. Really good. So I'm going to do a spinal fold forward, which is a really nice movement for your back as well as a gentle connection. So you can keep your knees bent if you have them bent. Just have your hands resting gently on your knees or legs. Inhale, reach up tall through the crown of the head. As you exhale, you're going to imagine you're peeling yourself off a wall. So your head comes off first, and then your shoulders, and then your upper back, We're only going to come down to where your pelvis is still on the wall. So your lower back is still on the wall. So Andrea's pelvis is still nice and vertical. She's folded forward. Your position is going to depend on your spinal flexibility. Inhale there. I want you to expand into the back and sides of your body, into that rib cage, ballooning it out. And then as you exhale, we're drawing that pelvic floor up and restacking from that mid back, pressing it gently back up against the wall, then the upper back, then the shoulders, and then the head comes last. Good, inhale, do 2 more. Exhale, peeling off gently and slowly, and the hands are just sliding down as your spine folds gently to its range. Inhale, expand into the back of the body, creating some space. And then exhale, pelvic floor lifts to the 3rd floor. Draw the lower abdominals together, lifting up, pressing gently against that wall. Don't push your back away into it. Just lifting up. Imagine someone's pulling you up through space. Last one, inhale. Exhale, peel the head, the shoulders, sliding gently, not too fast. Upper back, mid back. Keeping that lumbar spine on the wall. Inhale. Expanding, exhale, pelvic floor lifts gently. Draw those lower abdominals together, hip bones drawing towards one another, peeling up nice and gently. Sequential lift of the spine. Beautiful. So we'll stay here. If you would be more comfortable with your legs crossed for this next movement, you can. Otherwise, you just stay in the same position. So I'm going to do some arm scissors, and we're going to make your arms shorter, partly because we would hit the ground with our fingertips in this position if we didn't. Also, it's a little bit gentler, and if you have any clicking or issues with your shoulders, this is a really great modification for this movement anyway. And the movement's from the shoulder joint, so the lower part of the arm is a bit inconsequential for this anyway. So just bring your hands gently to your shoulders, fingertips, widening through the collarbones, connecting through the abdominals. Nice big inhale. As you exhale, bring one elbow up and one elbow down. As you exhale there, we're engaging pelvic floor, abdominals down. Inhale, bring it through the center, the elbows meet, and then they go in opposite directions. Inhale, releasing through the center. Exhale, drawing up, connecting up through the pelvic floor and down through the obliques. Inhale. So we're feeling the rotation of the scapula, the shoulder blades. We're really working on that breathing to connect through the stabilising muscles. So that exhale is helping you connect upwards through the pelvic floor, but then also downwards through the rib cage. The obliques are connecting the rib cage down towards the hips so that we don't flare and arch the back. Because we can all just arch like this, but we want to find that stability in neutral. Let's do one more on each side. Inhale through center, exhale. Inhale through center, exhale. Draw up, connect, and bring both arms down. You can give your shoulders a roll if they're feeling a bit fatigued. So we're going to come onto all fours now. So if you have issues with your knees, which I do, just use your pad or your towel that you were just using on your mat. You can always roll the back of your mat up. We've got some more ideas on our modifications and props video. So let's move this. So coming onto hands and knees, hands under shoulders, so your wrists are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. So we want to find our neutral position here. So we just want to open the pelvis slightly, find that natural curve in your lower back, and don't let your, just going to tuck my shirt in so you can see a bit better, don't let your belly fall down. We're still staying connected through the abdominals, and you're widening through the shoulders and making sure your head doesn't sag. Your shoulder blades are flat on your back. Your head is nice and long. The back of the neck is long. The nape of the neck is reaching up to the ceiling. The crown of the head is reaching towards the wall opposite you. So we're just going to do a couple of cat-cow stretches, and we're not dumping. We're staying really connected through the core. So it's a smaller movement that you would do in, say, a yoga class when you're stretching. So on an inhale, I want you to press the belly down a little bit, open through the tailbone, widen through the sit bones, and reach your chest up and away. But I want you to keep your ribs connected to your hips. So we're not dumping down. We're drawing the pelvic floor up, keeping the ribs connected down. And then exhale, draw the tailbone down towards the heels, scoop the belly, press your shoulders away from your hands, and stretch up. Inhale, tailbone opens, reach the heart through, keep the abdominals connected. Don't overarch the neck. Just think about moving through the body, and the head just follows the same line. Tailbone down, belly scoops, pelvic floor is lifting gently. Exhale up. Let's do one more each way. Inhale, open. Reach the heart. Stay connected through the abdominals. And then exhale, pressing up, rounding. Really good. And then coming back to neutral. So I'm going to try and isolate the pelvis here, which is going to be tricky for some of you to do. If it's way too hard, you could do a couple more cat-cows, or you can have another lay on your back and do your imprint release in that back, in that back position, if you like. So we're just going to try and isolate through the pelvis without moving this upper body. So same as we did on the floor, we're going to imprint that lower back as if you're imprinting it on a ceiling just above your back. So inhale here in neutral. Exhale, draw the belly and pelvic floor up. Tailbones tuck slightly and imprint gently. And then inhale, open back into your neutral, release the pelvic floor. Good, so if your shoulders and your head are moving, we want to just try and keep them still and just move through that pelvis. Inhale, open to neutral. Good. Exhale. Lovely. So it's a little bit harder to isolate this movement in this position because we don't have the feedback of the floor, and we're having to hold ourselves up. Beautiful. Exhale, one more, just that pelvis, squeeze pelvic floor to the third floor. Abdominals drawing in, inhale, release back to neutral. Good, so just have a little sit back. Just give your wrists a little bit of a roll. Good. I'm going to come back onto all fours and do a couple of leg and arm movements where we're going to keep our center really nice and still. So, just the arms first. So your pelvis is in that neutral position, abdominals are connected. I'm just going to inhale, prepare. Exhale, slide your right hand along the mat until you're in that extended position, and then extend up away from the floor as you reach away, and then bring the fingertips back to the mat and then slide them back in. Good. Let's inhale as we slide away. Exhale to lift the arm. Inhale back to the mat. Exhale back under the shoulder. Alternate sides. Inhale, slide. Exhale, reach away. Inhale back. Exhale down. Inhale away. Exhale, lift. Inhale down. Exhale, slide back. Really good. So we're going to do that same thing with the legs, one at a time. So keeping the upper body really steady. We're going to inhale, slide one foot along the mat, and then squeeze up as you reach the toes away. Toes back down to the mat gently, and then slide back in. So we want to avoid shifting too far to one side as you lift that leg. So those internal stabilizing muscles is what's going to keep you stable as you slide away and reach up. We'll just keep alternating sides. If your wrists are way too sore, you can prop them up, or you can come down to the elbows for a little part of this movement. Good. You still want to have that neutral position in your spine here. Good. Beautiful. Bring that knee in. So you will need to come back onto all fours to do the next movement. If it's becoming too much, you can go back to just doing the arms, just the legs. So we're going to come into doing opposite arm and opposite leg. So you're going to have one of each limb off the mat at one time. So if this is too challenging, you just come back to just the arms or just the legs. So if you can't find that stability, always go back a step. So find your neutral. Lift up into the shoulders, connect through the abdominals before you lift. We're going to slide first, right arm and left leg, find that length without hunching, and then exhale, lift, reaching away, keeping the hip bones pointing forward, shoulders level, and abdominals connected. Neck is nice and long. Inhale down, exhale, slide back, opposite side, left arm, right leg, slide along, find the length, stay connected, exhale, lift. Inhale down, exhale, return. So you could always just do the slide and return. The slide and return. That's also going to challenge that stability. Good. So use that exhale to keep the abdominals connected. Draw that pelvic floor up as the hip bones draw together. Let's do one more on each side. Inhale away. Exhale, squeeze and lift. Inhale down. Exhale, return. Last one. Inhale, slide. Exhale, lift. Reach away. Inhale down. And exhale, release. Really good. So we're going to come into a side lying position. If you would like to put a cushion under your head, you can. Otherwise, you can just use your arm. I'll use one of these today. You can have a firm cushion or the ball. If the ball's a bit high, you don't want your neck too high either. Good. So your hips and your back are long against the back of the mat. And your knees are your hips are sort of at a 90-degree angle. And you're going to have your heels in line with your bottom. Good. So we're going to open angle through the hip, a right angle through the legs, heels in line with the bottom and the shoulders. So have your heels connected. Start with your knees together. I want you to draw up through your waist and connect through the abdominals. Don't sink into the mat and relax. Lifting up, drawing up through that underneath side waist, lengthening through the top waist. Exhale, draw that top knee open, squeeze the heels together, pelvic floor is engaged. Inhale, lower back down. Exhale. As the heels squeeze, we're really finding that extra engagement. The waist doesn't move, the pelvis doesn't move. You're going to feel the glutes working, all these hip rotation muscles are working, all those really nice deep stabilizing hip muscles. Good. Let's do two more. If you feel yourself sinking into the mat, pop your hand under there and just give yourself a little reminder. On your next one, squeeze the knee open, keep the thigh in the same position, just reach the foot up and extend from the knee, kick your heel away, lengthen through the back of your leg, keep your thigh in the same position as you bring your heel back to the other heel, and then close your leg down. The whole time your waist and your hips still haven't moved. Exhale, lift. Inhale, extend. Exhale, heels back together, squeeze, and then lower. Let's do one more. Exhale. Inhale, extend from the knee. Keep that thigh nice and still. Use those muscles together, and then close. Really good. Bring your knees up to a 90-degree angle now so that your knees are directly in front of your hip and your feet then are directly under your knees. Draw up through that waist again, engage. Pelvic floor. Think about when you're going to engage it as you lift. Inhale, prepare, exhale. Just lift that whole leg up, energize all the way out through the toes. Keep your toes nice and in line with that knee and lower back down. Exhale, connect and lift. Inhale, lower back down. Exhale, make sure that foot's not going to stay behind and sag down. Moving from this hip joint, keeping that leg really strong. And last one, exhale, connect as you lift that leg. Inhale, bring it down. Good. So just going to bring that knee back into sort of a relaxed bent position, and with a towel, bring that top leg nice and long and lengthen through that top side body. The waist is still lifting under here. You might not actually see a gap, but I want you to feel like you're engaging and lifting. Otherwise your spine's going to be curved this way. We want it to be long and neutral. So find that nice long position. Have this hand in front of you, this top hand for support. We're going to bring that top leg forward and sweep it forward just slightly and keep the toe pointed. Then you're going to flex your foot, squeeze your heel back just past your body. Point your toe, sweep forward. Exhale, sweep the leg back. So we're keeping the stability through that pelvis by using those internal stabilizing muscles. 2 more. If you go too far, we will sink or lose your balance. We don't want to tip. We want to stay steady. Last one. Forward, inhale. Exhale, squeeze back. Find that length and bring that leg down. Beautiful. So just roll onto your tummy. So in our prone position on our tummy, if you needed a pad under your head, under the back of your head, you're probably going to need a pad under your forehead. So I'm going to pop that one down and just, make sure. So Andrea doesn't need any props here again, but if you're having trouble getting your head in that neutral position where the forehead and the chin are level, so if I didn't have that there, if I get my forehead down, I'm overextended through my neck. So I pop a little pad underneath and it brings me to a more comfortable neutral position. So that's where we want to start from. So make sure your pelvis isn't tilting up. You'll feel it in your lower back. So push your pubic bone down into the mat. Watching that mod video, you'll see if you have excess need for props, you might need to pop something into your hip bones. So you're going to bring your arms into a goalpost position, lengthening through the back of the neck. Relax your shoulders down. Your legs are just slightly apart with your heels slightly together and your toes slightly pointing away. Keep losing my pad. So your shoulders are relaxed. As you inhale, you're going to slide your shoulders down your back towards your hips. Then on the exhale, just gently roll your nose away from the mat and lift your forehead. And then we're going to press into the arms and then lift into that upper back and have a little baby extension. So we're reaching the crown of the head and the chest away, but we're keeping that connection through the abdominals that we've just been practicing. And then roll it back down, bringing that forehead back to the mat. Relax through your shoulders. Let's do 3 more. Inhale, slide your shoulders down. Exhale, a little tilt away and push and extend up and away. Draw the pelvic floor up, abdominals in, ribs down, and then roll it back down. As you come to the bottom, tuck your nose back under, relax your shoulders. 2 more. Inhale, slide the shoulders, set them down your back. Exhale, a little tilt of that head. Don't over flex it, overextend at the neck, pressing up. Don't go further than the bottom of the rib cage. You've gone too far. If you feel it in your lower back, you've gone too far. Nice and gentle, relax. There, last one. Inhale, slide the shoulders back. Exhale, slight little tilt of the head, nose away, reaching up and away, lengthening, and rolling it back down, forehead underneath. Good. So bring your arms down by your side. We're going to be bringing ourselves up into a hover. We're not extending, we're just lifting that upper body. You might only get 1 or 2 centimeters. Your lower body is going to stay still here. So we don't want to be lifting the legs at all. So press your pubic bone down, lengthen through the back of the neck. Inhale, slide the shoulders down, reach your fingertips towards your feet and just lift that upper body off the mat and reach your crown away from your feet. And then inhale back down, relax your shoulders. Good, inhale, slide. Exhale, lift, hover. So I don't get very far off the mat. Andrea's a little bit further up, but we don't want to feel any pinching in our lower back. As we slide the shoulders down and lift up, the pelvic floor is drawing up. The ribs are drawing down to the hips. The pubic bone's pushing down. We're lengthening through the whole back of the body. And down. Last one. Set your shoulders. Hover up. Reach. Lengthening away from top to toe and all the way down. Good. So keep your arms nice and long. I'm going to switch for a high pad. That's much better. So everything through the body is going to stay still. We're just going to work through the upper back, but you're going to be connected through the abdominals. So pelvic floor is going to lift, abdominals connected, pubic bone pressing down. Just lift your arms off the mat, and then you're going to turn your whole arm in the shoulder socket to turn your thumbs up and away. Slide the shoulders together, and then inhale, turn them down. So we're rolling the shoulders in, and we're rolling them open. Inhale, down and in. Exhale, out and open. Really good. So we're working through these nice stabilising muscles in the back, but we're holding the stabilising muscles in the pelvis. Beautiful. Let's do one more. Turn in and turn open and open through the front of the chest, and then bring yourself back down to the mat. Beautiful. So you can just do some of those again. We're going to try and do a couple of those in the hover position as well. So you can always add some lower body lift in where we reach the toes away and extend the legs as well. But if we're up here as well and you feel any pinching in your lower back, legs come down and your range adjusts accordingly. So we're just going to leave our legs still for this one. So we're going to inhale, slide the shoulders down. Exhale, come up into your little hover. Reach your fingertips away. We're going to come into that flight with the arms. Open the thumbs out and away. Inhale, shoulders roll down. Exhale, open. Good. Any strain, just bring that forehead back down. Do the same movement with just the arms again. Checking in with that pelvic floor, that you're drawing it up and the ribs are staying connected down. Beautiful. Let's do one more. Opening up. Bring the shoulders down and exhale, relax down to the mat. Beautiful. So we're going to roll into our other side and do our other leg before we forget. Beautiful. So just spin around on your mat. If you're at home, you just roll onto your other side. You don't have to change ends. So your back is long against the mat. Your knees are bent out in front, making sure the heels are then in line with your bottom. So you've got a right angle in the knee and open angle in the hip. Lift up through your waist, connect pelvic floor, abdominals, heels squeeze together, knee opens, keeping that hip nice and still. Inhale, closed. Exhale, squeeze, open. Inhale, closed. As you exhale and open, we're finding the pelvic floor and abdominals connecting. Inhale, release. Exhale. Inhale, release. Let's do two more. Squeeze those heels together so we can deepen that connection. Last one. Hold it there. Keep the thighs still. Keep everything through the body nice and steady. Extend from the knee. Push the heel away. Lengthen that leg. And then inhale, heels back together. Squeeze and close it back down. Let's do three more of those. Exhale, open. Inhale, extend. Contracting those quads as you push the heel away. Inhale, heels back together. Squeeze and close it down. Has your waist sunk into the mat? Try and lift it up, lengthen through that top waist. Have your little fingers there as a little reminder if you need. Last one. Exhale, open. Inhale, extend, squeeze out through that heel really long and deliberate. Inhale, back together. Exhale, close it down. Good. So we're going to bring the legs up to a right angle. So knees are directly in front of the hips. Feet are directly under the knees. So if your top hip is rolled back, you'll see that your knees don't meet up. So we need to stack those hips. The knees should be on top of one another. The waist is drawing up. We're connected. Shoulders relaxed. Exhale, lift that whole leg. Keep everything energized out through the toes. Keep everything on that same horizontal plane. Inhale, lower. Exhale, squeeze up. Imagine someone's picking your whole leg up in one go, drawing it up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lower. Good. Nice and slowly, we really feel that working straight away. Inhale, lower. As you exhale, we're connecting deeply. Remember, pelvic floor, hip bones draw together, lower abdominals, transverse abdominis, and the obliques are working there to keep your waist nice and neutral and up off the mat. Let's do one more. Beautiful, and bring it down. Just bring that bottom knee to a more relaxed bent position. Bring that top leg out nice and long. Reach out through the toes. So we're lengthening through this top hip. You can almost let your leg pull your waist up off the mat. Have that hand there again if you need. You can either have it underneath or you can have it in front of you for that stability help. So reach the toes forward, little sweep. Flex your foot, draw the heel back, just behind the body, as long as you don't sink and collapse into that hip. So keeping that nice stable base, working that leg from the hip joint. Inhale forwards, exhale, squeeze back. So you might just be 1 or 2 centimeters. So long as we're keeping everything in place, that's going to be doing really nice work for you. You just get slightly bigger with that movement as you get a bit stronger. Still not going to be very big even when you get to that top range. Let's do one more. Inhale forwards. You can still feel it. Reaching back. Good, and release. Beautiful. All right. So we're going to come back onto our backs to finish. Almost there. So you can do, if you don't want to do the whole lot, if it's a bit long, just pick a couple of little sections or one section just to do once a day or a couple of times a week, just to build up a bit of strength. So I'm going to come into some toe taps. So we're starting with our legs the same way we had them at the start. So your knees are bent at 90 degrees, your feet are flat on the mat, everything's parallel, hips, knees, toes. Good. Starting in neutral, keeping our pelvis in neutral. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, connect pelvic floor, abdominals, obliques, and use the hip flexor to bring that leg up in one go. So it stays in the same angle, it's just moving from the hip. Inhale, release it back to the floor. Exhale, lift the other leg up. Inhale, release back to the floor. Alternating sides. So you can feel that deep connection through those stabilizing muscles as we bring that leg up. It's going to feel really challenging if you've got tight hip flexors. Just really need to focus on that breath. You could do a smaller movement. You don't need to bring the knee all the way up to the hip. Beautiful. Really want to keep the stability through the hips. So if your hips are moving side to side, you need to make your movement smaller and build up. So on your next one, I want you to exhale, bring one leg up, hold it there, imprint through that pelvis. So you're gently imprinting, bringing that pubic bone a little bit higher than the hip bones, connecting a little bit more through those obliques, and bring the other leg up to tabletop. So we've got both legs up in tabletop now. If you can see your feet, they're a bit high. So we want the feet directly in front of the knees. So holding the imprint and the abdominals, we're going to exhale as we dip one leg away using that hip flexor. Keep the leg at the right angle. Inhale, draw it back to tabletop. Exhale, dip it away. If this was already becoming too strong, you come back to that first movement that we just did, lifting from the floor. If you find that as your leg dips, your pelvis wants to go with it and arch, we want to make sure we come back. So we can just tap slightly away, not all the way to the floor, or you can bend your knee slightly and shorten that angle a tiny bit. Whatever helps you find that stability with a little less range is what we want. Beautiful. 2 more. On your next one, bring one leg down all the way to the floor. Find your neutral pelvis again and then bring the other leg back to the floor. So we're going to come up into our lift that we did before. We're going to add an extension away from the body. So inhale, prepare. Exhale, lift. We're going to lengthen the leg away. Bring that leg back to that right angle, and then bring it back to the floor, angling from that hip joint. Exhale. Inhale, extend away. Exhale, bring it back. And inhale, return. So if you find that your hips are wobbling side to side, maybe just continue with the bent knee. You can bring your leg as high to the ceiling as you want. High to the ceiling might challenge tight hamstrings, but we don't want your back to arch, so you might just be straightening that leg with a bit of a bent knee for now. Really good. Let's do one more on each side. Andrea, keep going there. Beautiful. So the rib cage is really stable here. And finish your last one. Good. Bringing it back. All right, so I'm going to go into some one-leg circles, which really challenges the pelvic stability. It's a really small movement. So we're just going to do it with our knees bent to start with. So the full movement has a nice long leg, but it's a lot more challenging. So hands on the hip bones in neutral. We can stay in neutral because we're going to keep one foot on the ground. So exhale, bring one leg up to tabletop like we just did. So you're going to forget about your lower leg. We're only moving the thigh. So the femur is going to roll in the hip joint and do some little circles with the hips stable. So inhale, we're going to start a little circle. Exhale, we're going to finish a little circle. And it's this tiny. Inhale, exhale. So if I went any bigger, my hip, you can actually see the hips moving. So we want to really keep those hips stable. So you either have your hands on your hip bones or you have your hands underneath the small of your back. And if you feel change in pressure, then you're shifting side to side. So we're not just swinging around. We're moving within that really stable pelvis. If you have trouble still with doing this with a bent knee, you can grab a band or a towel or a scarf or something just to hold behind your knee, anchor down through the upper arms, and that just gives you a little bit more help with that stability, having that little bit of pressure taken off that leg. So we'll go the other direction in the hip joint. Inhale to start your circle, exhale to finish it. Watch that your opposite knee isn't trying to creep away. Keep it still. So as you do your exhale to finish your circle, you're finding your pelvic floor, your lower abdominals, and your obliques, ribs down. One more this way. Beautiful. So let's do the other leg. So carefully bring that foot down. Inhale, exhale, draw the other leg up. You might find different levels of sort of stability on each side. So inhale, start your circle, exhale, finish. So Andrea doing a long leg there, which you can progress to only once you can keep the foot directly above the hip joint. And we prefer you to have a nice long leg as well. Otherwise, just stay with the bent leg. It's doing the same work. My knee wants to fall away on this side, so I have to really watch that I'm keeping it in place. Let's do one more this way. Inhale, exhale. Last one around the other way. Inhale, exhale. You might find when you change directions that you need to really think a lot harder about that internal connection and that stability. So I'm really having trouble on this side, so I'm going to grab my band back and use that again. do 2 more. Inhale, exhale, last one. Inhale, exhale, beautiful. Carefully bring that knee back down. So one more thing to finish. We're going to do some knee openers in the tabletop position and then a little press just to really engage through the abdominals and the hip flexors to finish. So imprint through that pelvis gently. Bring that pubic bone a bit higher than the hip bones. Bring one leg up to tabletop. Bring the other leg up to tabletop. Good. So from here, it's going to be really hard to keep those hips nice and still. So really holding onto them to feel what they're doing. Inhale, let one leg fall out to the side. Keep the foot in line with the knee. The whole leg's moving in one. And then exhale, connect through the middle to bring back. Inhale. And exhale. So if this is too strong, you come back to the mat in neutral and do your little knee openers to the sides. The same movement, level down. So if you go too far, then we might roll and we really lose that integrity. So make sure your foot goes with you, it doesn't stay in the middle. We want to take the whole leg. Really find that connection as you bring it back. Pelvic floor, abdominals. Let's do one more. Hold those legs there. I'm going to bring the hands to the top of the thighs, just under the knee. Leave the head down. What I want you to do is just bring the knees and press them into the hands and try and keep, they're going to stay in the same place, but we're going to have resisting pressure in both directions. Exhale. And inhale, release. So nothing's actually moving, we're just pressing them in towards one another and they're stopping each other from moving. And we feel that connection and engagement through the abdominals, the pelvic floor, and you're going to work through those hip flexors as well. Make sure you're not tensing and gripping through the neck. Use that breath to connect deeply through the abdominals and not use your neck. Really good. Let's do one more. Exhale, squeeze, press, inhale, release, and then one leg to the floor, and then the other leg to the floor. Really good. So just let those legs come all the way out long, and releasing through those hip flexors. You can give your hips a little bit of a wobble. Have a nice big stretch out long. So definitely do some stretching if you're feeling a bit sore. Bend those knees, coming up through a roll or to the side, nice and safely. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that. So we didn't do a lot of arm work, but we're really just focusing on strengthening through the pelvic floor and those deep internal core muscles. So doing a lot of these movements is going to help you get stronger in your other Pilates classes that are a lot stronger and are a bit faster paced. So you could do this whole thing once a week or once every couple of weeks and see if you can sort of progress a little bit each time. You can go at a faster pace if you like, as long as you can keep the stability. Or just choose little sections or get, a couple of little sort of segments that you can do on a daily basis to help you just build that little bit of strength. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.